I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, gang, we are back with Shel Mendelson. She is the guru when it comes to building and forging a career when you have ADHD. So welcome back, Shel.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Wonderful to be here.
We are going to
Thank
talk
you.
about your new book, Unlock Your Career Path, a course for ADHD adults and teens. So typically the people here who listen to Overcoming Distractions are busy professionals, adults. But if you're listening to this and you know someone who is in high school or in college that might benefit from this conversation, then certainly pass it on. Shel is the guru, the only guru when it comes to this topic, as far as I'm concerned. So I want to
Thank you.
tell a quick story. So
Thank you.
you and I met because back several years ago, when I wrote Overcoming Distractions, we'll get into the book business for a second here. I got a publishing contract for 2 books, and I started writing the career book, and I reached out to you. But then the crap hit the fan at the publisher for some reason. They had a reshuffling of people. And to make a long story short, because I know people don't like long stories in this community, the book just collapsed. So
come
I
on.
interviewed Shel for a career book that never happened. And I'm glad because this is the book for you. So
Thank you. Yeah.
no, it's great. It's on
Yeah.
Amazon. Check it out. It is Shel and I. We're talking about this book before we hit the record button. And if you have ADHD, it is laid out perfectly for you in small little chunks, graphics, all types of exercises that you can work through. So before we even get started, I'm encouraging you to check it out. Unlock Your Career Path, a course for ADHD adults and teens. So now when I interviewed Ned Hallowell for my first book, he said something very simple, which has always stuck with me to this day. If you're going to thrive as an adult with ADHD, you have to marry the right person and find the right career or job. So, and I truly believe that I think a lot of us adults with ADHD, one of the biggest sources of stress and our ADHD just getting the best of us is when we're not in the right career or the right job. You start the book out talking about how ADHD can impact our careers. And I know that could be an entire podcast episode, but can you give us some kind of brief examples of how this might, resonate with listeners?
Anyone on a PIP program will know what I'm talking about, right? And
Yeah.
I do tend to work with quite a few people that have either been on them or are in the process of being crushed by them. And when I say crushed, they're not really meant to help you. They're meant to sort of help you exit. And for the first time, actually, I had somebody last night in one of my classes who said it. He actually got through it and it helped him. That's the first time in 30 some odd years I've ever heard that. But he is taking the course because he wants to improve and find other avenues for himself. Uh, so people with ADHD, if they're in the wrong job, and anyone listening to this is going to know after you hear it, uh, because talk about being distracted, being bored, being having assignments with deadlines that are impossible, or have being micromanaged, or being uh, job hopping for one thing, and getting fired. That's always the big one, right?
Mm,
Being put in one of those PIP programs, people not really understanding you, telling people that telling your boss or divulging your ADHD diagnosis and then uh, having it misinterpreted, having then all of a sudden you're labeled, and then people who don't understand ADHD are giving you the side glance. So you've got the coworker issue a lot of times who like, why does this person get to extend deadlines? Why does this person? So I mean, any number of, I call them soul crushing uh, situations that you get into with ADHD if you're in the wrong job. And I want to emphasize that there's nothing wrong with you. You're just in the wrong job. It's in the wrong, it maybe is an entire career that's the wrong career for you. You might be in the wrong industry, working for the wrong type of company. The working conditions are not going to match up with what you're comfortable with, what will help you to thrive. So that's a big part of the book, is it helps you to really put together a plan for yourself so that you can be knowledgeable about what it is that are the must-haves. And I'll talk more about the must-have. This becomes more of an empowering, if you want to use that term. I know it's overused, but the term empowering in the sense means that you are in control of who you work for what you're doing and how you're doing it and under what circumstances. And that if you don't have that knowledge, if it isn't written down somewhere, and it isn't something that you can own, that you own and you can articulate, then, and when you can do all those things, you become very much uh, a benefit to the employer and to yourself. If you decide to work on yourself, you need to do that working on your own as well.
yeah.
So I know I kind of went over on that, but
No, no, no,
those are
no,
some
no,
examples.
no.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic, and I think you mentioned something I talk about all the time is that in many aspects of our life, professional and personal, when we have ADHD, we have to be in control.
yeah,
Um, we have to, if you're in the wrong job and it's like you say, soul crushing for year after year, um,
yeah,
it's I would say it's upon you to start to find a way to make those changes. Either
yeah,
either
yeah,
either change what needs to be done there or go get another job or build another career. So, and I want to talk about that too. So, um, going back to, I sound like, Dr. Ruth, tell me about your childhood. Okay. But if some people remember Dr. Ruth, we're
I
showing our age.
do.
We're showing our
I
age, right?
remember Dr. Ruth.
So in the book, you
Yeah,
have a section about childhood experiences and how they may guide your career. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
yeah. I always felt that because when I was a kid, and I'll just tell my little story, and I'll keep it short. My story is that when I was 7 years old, I used to love to play school, and I would force my little 4-year-old brother to be the student. And for Christmas, my dad got me a blackboard and reached up into the fireplace and pulled out the eraser and said, "Santa must have left that." I mean, he really keyed into what my interests were. And I loved having a desk. I remember a friend of mine had this roll top desk, and I just was so envious because I thought, oh, teachers with roll top desks, so cool. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was 7, right? So I wasn't much on playing with dolls or anything like that. But the idea of teaching and education was something that carried through to my life now and has never shifted. My field is really education because when I look at everything I do, it's about teaching, uplifting, imparting information. Every single time, that's what it is. And so everything that I've done has been some aspect of that. So childhood activities hold the clue. They aren't necessarily literal, they're one of the clues. So some of the things that people enjoy doing when they're little, uh, you can try and pretend like they're not important, but they often do carry into adulthood in some fashion. And so the exercise that I have in here really sort of takes you through that process of um, taking a look at those things and piecing that together and making it a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So some people I know that I work with, many of the Gen Z and millennial age people, for some reason have a tough time with those memories. And if trauma occurred during that time, that could impact some of the memories that you have. I'm not a therapist that way. I'm not Gabor Mate, who focuses on trauma. I
Yeah.
suggest reading his books, by the way. I totally suggest reading his books. In fact, I have a quote from him in the very beginning.
Is that the body
Um,
keeps the score?
no, I'll read you the quote I have.
Because I can't pronounce his
And
name either.
Gabor Mate, he is one of my heroes. Creativity is in all of us. To the extent that we don't give expression, we suffer.
Mhm. Yeah.
To the extent that we don't give it expression, we suffer, Gabor Mate.
Mm.
Yeah. And creativity is in all of us, and especially people with ADHD. Creativity is often squelched in the work that we do. But so childhood activities are one of the pieces, one of the clues. So in this process, you're putting on your detective hat and you are going to do different exercises. Some may work better than others. But there's a variety. There are some that are you must do, which are the planets, and we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Mm.
But it's just I really think that if you can key into some of those activities, who you played with, the kinds of things that you like playing, even the kinds of sports, if you like sports. I like building forts with my friends. I liked just running around. I don't know how that what it has to do with my career, but it's up to you to sort of key into that as you're working through it. You'll start to see how things met. Oh, maybe get an aha moment.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's
Yeah.
the thing with childhood
No, and I think
activities.
that makes sense is if you're gonna go on this journey, you should do your due diligence in exploring what is gonna make you happy, what's
Yeah.
gonna allow you to thrive.
And
And
I love you calling it a journey because this book is literally a journey.
yeah.
It's like, so get ready,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
there's
And
there's so many people out there that just I think just hit brick wall after brick wall when it comes to their professional life and
mm,
ADHD. So I've talked to attorneys that and CPAs that, believe it or not, CPAs with ADHD that gave it up and went a completely different route.
yeah.
So yeah,
I
yeah,
work with attorneys and CPAs all the time. I mean, I work with people. Sometimes those kind of things actually do work for people, which shows that people with ADHD are as diverse as the rest of the
right. We
population.
always hear this thing. Oh, what's a great career for ADHD? Now I would rather be
No,
dragged
no
over
such
broken
thing.
glass than do
Yeah,
anything with
no
numbers.
such.
You
Me
know,
too.
anything with
Keep me.
numbers, forget it.
Yeah. I mean, if I can't just use a basic calculator,
No,
forget it.
No, and my wife laughs at me, but I'm the guy who pulls out my phone and figures out the 20% tip. And unless the bill was a straight $100,
Yeah.
I,
Oh my
I
God.
can't figure
We're
it
so
out.
much alike, David.
So, I mean,
Oh, and
that's
then I have so many clients with who are just number fanatics, you know? They're really numbers people,
yeah.
like to the other extreme. So, yeah, I never could figure that out. That's why my work is so fascinating, is that I work with so many different types of people with different interests, and my mind is blown by what some of these people have accomplished,
Yeah.
folks that
No,
I've
I
worked
know.
with. I mean,
That's one of those big myths of ADHD is that you need to go be in
yeah,
sales or you need to, yeah,
no,
it's all BS. Um,
yeah,
so you use the word preferred a lot in
yeah.
this book. Um, whether it's working conditions, knowledge, geography, money, accommodations, you've kind of prefaced that part of the book about preferred scenarios or what have you. So can you
Hmm.
walk us through a little bit about why that is so important?
Well, we were talking about this earlier. I always in the back of my mind, the word preferred never seemed strong enough. And it was because I was trained by Richard Bowles. That was a term he used. And I kind of dragged it into this situation. But really, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change the word preferred to must haves or
Mm,
red lines. It has to be something stronger because it's like uh, you can't, um, it's like when you start to prioritize the things that are important to you, the sub in each one of the planets that you just mentioned, what some of those are. Um, if you aren't strong enough about those quote unquote preferences, you can let them fade away again, and they can be put down to the bottom. Sorry, my throat. Hold on. Oh, edit.
edit. We don't edit here.
Don't edit. Everybody I know edits. So
Nope, not
okay.
me. That's how I
So
do
you
my
get the
job.
real yeah, me gagging.
That's right.
It's early
Shell just
morning
needed
gagging.
a drink of water, people. So this is
Yeah,
real
which I don't,
life.
yeah, real life. Anyway, so the word preferred is not strong enough in my opinion. And so when you see it, think of it as red line, think of it as must have. It's something that, and I'm going to actually, in the second edition, I am going to write a whole thing about the word preferred versus how strong your priority. Whatever you prioritize as important. And there's, a tool for prioritizing. There's tools for everything in here to figure this out. Nothing is left behind where you have to kind of scratch your head and go. You do have to make a decision ultimately once you use the tool, and then you look at it and say, is this actually the level of importance that it needs to be? So,
Yeah.
and that level may change over time. Like in a year from now, one thing that is quote unquote preferred may go down to number five versus number one. So things shift and change, we do. And you have to sort of keep in mind that as you're going through this, you're going to come up with a roadmap, and then you're going to be looking at the roadmap, every 6 months or so, or a year. It may get, as time goes on, it may be longer, but it needs to be somewhere you can grab a hold of it at all times and take a look at it and see, okay, my preferences have shifted. My priorities have shifted. Okay. So this is based on human beings who shift and change.
Can I
You are a person who's always, you may, and this isn't about this is the opposite of shiny object. So this is a way to keep yourself kind of in line with who you really are. And at any given time, instead of going off on a tangent somewhere because it looks interesting, you have something that you can look at and go, is this really what I align with? Or is this just an idea I have now
yeah.
that I might So the word preference to me isn't strong enough. So I'll just come out and say it right here. Change it, shift it to red line or must haves.
Can I
Must being the
must? All
strongest
right. So
word.
when you read preferred, think must have. Can I
Yeah.
assume uh can I assume that you are better equipped to understand your must haves or your preferences if you are in a
Yeah.
career or job that you want to change? So, for example, um, and we talked about this in Overcoming Burnout about kind of flipping the conversation around about
Mhm.
I want a job or career where I don't have this or I don't have that versus saying my next career has to have X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah.
is it easier for somebody who's already been in a career or the workforce who's had maybe some negative situations to maybe go through that exercise a little easier now that they've been working for a while?
I would say yes, the more you've been in the workforce and been crushed to any degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the first step in some of the exercises is to look at what you don't want
Yeah.
and the things that have made you crazy or the things you quote unquote hate, elements of your work, characteristics of people, for example, working conditions are another one. And then you look at what is the other side of that for you, which might be different for somebody else. So the definition of the other side, so then you get some clarity around what the other side is. And the other side are the must-haves when you prioritize them, and they're the opposite of what you've been getting that doesn't work. So it's almost like you don't have to say, I don't want this, I don't want that, when you know what your must-haves are.
Yeah. And I
Um,
the exercise we went through because one of the things that really, and people like there's a lot of myths around burnout and as well
yeah,
as ADHD, but one of the myths is like, oh, you're just working too much or you're working long hours and but a lot of people don't take into consideration the other things. One of the things that really just contributed to me feeling burnt out over years of running my own PR firm was clients paying late. They go out 60, sometimes 90 days. You're still doing the work, you know.
yeah,
And uh I guess I wasn't strong enough to put my foot down and say work stops, because I didn't want to damage the relationship, blah, 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 blah. But we went through the exercise in the book about um reshaping the business and saying instead of I don't I don't want to work with clients that pay late or abuse my time versus I want clients that XYZ respect my time, respect my payment expectations, things of that nature. So do you kind of go through that in the book about here's what I want, let's not really focus on what I don't want, or is there kind of an even how do you approach that?
the here's what I want is generally the other side of what you don't want. So it's funny when you say clients who pay late. I always have people pay in advance. I would never do work and then ask somebody. That's just me. So maybe it lends itself to what I do that I can do that. Um,
Yeah, but I think
but
different industries bill
different
differently.
industries might be different at
Yeah,
that.
I could have
Yeah,
been just a hard, you didn't pay me. I ain't doing anything until you
you could
pay
do
me,
that.
you know?
Exactly. It's just that is a bit of a stress that I wouldn't want to have. So when I
Yeah.
look at my business, if I can't tell people this is what it is and this is what you're getting and they know what they're getting and they have the reviews or they have some they get as much information as they can about it. They know that they need to have this service or whatever. uh, I never chase. I can't do it. I tried. I can't do it. I can't chase my,
No,
it
it's
doesn't work for
frustrating.
me.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
That
that
will
that's
cause
one
burnout
example of
for
many.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one
Yeah.
example of many about how,
Yeah.
you know, seeking your next job or career, focusing on this is what I
Yeah.
this is what I need. So,
So
and like,
if you're, for example, looking at starting your own business, do you want to be in a business where you're people, chasing after people to pay you? Or one of the big things uh, in this process is understanding what supports you need.
yeah,
So if you shouldn't be the one doing that, maybe have somebody else do that. Make sure that you have the supports or don't do it seriously. Unless you have the right supports, don't try and take it on. And I always say, do not try and do big projects or whatever on your own. Always know the kind of people you need, the kind of people you want to work with. All of this pretty much allows you to articulate what those things are, who those people, the kind of people that you need, and all of that. It doesn't always work out perfectly, but it's knowing is better than not knowing. Being aware of it is way far better. Having a roadmap so that you can compare this situation to that situation is 100% better. It makes it
right.
so much easier, right? It
And
just
that's a
makes it
whole,
easier.
yeah, and that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation, you know,
Yeah.
that we could have. But somebody might go through your book and say, you know what? I want to go start my own company. I want to start my own business.
Mhm.
Now there's a whole nother set of, as you say, um, uh, things that they need to start thinking about. You may be, like I said, you may be a great public relations person, but are you equipped to handle the back end of the business? Do you want to handle the back end of the business? There's a whole nother set
Mhm.
of what ifs, when you go into
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. Yeah. So,
So yeah, it doesn't, this is not a book about entrepreneurship or if you're going to start a business starting 1A.
mm,
It's not that. It is really identifying what you need when you're in it,
mm,
what you need so that you can thrive in it and that you're making the right decision about what you're going to do to begin with.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I love doing this. And I know the kind of people now that I want to work with and the kind of supports I need. And I know how much money I need to make and how much, you have all that information and you can say, maybe I can do this thing on my own.
yeah,
And that then you would find somebody else's book to read to get that information,
right,
about how to actually start those things. But
yeah,
making those decisions and being equipped with, is this, am I in the best position to do this because I know what I want and I know what I need to do
mm,
it, and I'm aware of who I am as a person with ADHD, with my interests, with all the cool things about me that can contribute to these things, that will, whenever I'm doing them, I'm happy. When I'm doing these things, I do a great job and I'm excited about it and I want to learn about it. I want to expand. It just keeps getting better and better. That's the position that you're in when you're kind of equipped with that
yeah,
knowledge about yourself,
yeah. And
right?
understand, like you say, I don't want to be chasing money. I just want to run my business. So
I don't want to be chasing money.
that's soul crushing in itself. So
That's no, that's really, I couldn't do it.
yeah,
No,
you walk out to the
I just
mailbox
want to
every
do my
day.
job.
You walk out to the mailbox every day and you turn around with your head down because there's nothing
Yeah,
but
I've kind
bills.
of, you've got to rig it. I'll call it rig it. You've got to rig your situation
Yeah,
so that, you know, uh, like the money thing is taken care of. You have the way the invoicing, you have the calendaring, you have the, uh, like Zoom, how you're going to present it. Like I do mine on Zoom. You have your office set up the way you want it to be. You have everything working in your favor so that you can just go in and do the work
yeah,
and really thrive in it.
yeah.
So, yeah, and sometimes the front end of it takes some time, to put together. So
Yeah,
that's where you need to have a little bit of patience and go, yeah, but once I'm off and running, it is going to be so cool,
yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
that's the position
So,
you want to be in, right?
so can people in a career or a job that just maybe they want to make it work, um, but they need to go through some exercises. So maybe they're, they're an attorney or they're, whatever profession. And, I like what I do, but right now I'm just having challenges. I need, I need to make some changes to make this career work. Um, can people take away and work through the necessary adjustments going through the book as well? So we're not, are we always talking about a complete career or job change, or is there,
No, no, no.
yeah,
No, I have people, and don't forget, I do the master class. And so the book is what we use in the master class, and it can be used separately when you work with other people.
yeah,
But you do need accountability. So I have a whole section on accountability, which means you need to be working not just with yourself. You
yeah,
have somebody you can report to make sure you're staying on track. But in the class, we really dig much deeper into that whole idea of why you're here, why you're doing this. I have people that are very happy with their work, but they want their employers actually send them because now they're ready to make some kind of lateral move.
mm,
And they want to make sure the cool employers are the ones that will send them to make sure they're putting their employee in the right position that's going to benefit everybody. It's going to
mm.
be a win-win, right?
That's a great thought.
And
Yeah.
I
Mm,
and I do have a guy in one of my classes now who loves his work, loves his employer, went through a PI, he's the one who went through the PIP program and made it, and it made him better. I've never heard that before. So his reason for going through this process, not only with the book but in the course, is to really use the word empower again, put himself in a position where now he can just move forward with pretty much anything that he wants, and he can improve it even more. He can have other things that he might want to bring into it, and he can become aware of other subjects or topics within the context of his work that he can expand on in some way,
yeah.
or learn more, maybe get some additional training to learn about and bring that into the work environment. There's so many different things you can do with this process. It's not just for people who hate what they're doing and want to do something completely different. Of course, it's good for that. It's great for the people who come in with lots of ideas, and that's what I would say. Half of the people I work with are in that category where they have a million ideas, but they can't pick one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this helps to sort of allow the cream, as I say, to rise to the top
Mm,
so that you can begin to stop using that safekeeping, as we call it, reason to not move forward with something. And you
yeah.
know pretty much what that thing is. And now you can start taking those steps
Yeah.
to do it and really and not without the fear that you're missing out on something,
Yeah.
FOMO or whatever they
FOMO.
call
Yeah.
it.
Which we love.
Yeah, we love FOMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But this sort of helps you to build the confidence, and really confidence is the main thing that comes out of it.
Yeah.
Um, so that when you make that shift, you know it's not necessarily you have choices. You can do whatever you want. If you want to, move into something else, even if you love what you're doing, but now I want to grow into something and do something else, it's another branch of your tree, right? So it's some other aspect. That's okay.
Hmm.
It's just knowing that you're not going to be missing out because you are in control. You get to decide, but you also need to understand that if you're not excited about it, if you don't have that energy, that dopamine is I have a new instructor now, and she's so wonderful. Lynn, if you're listening to this, I want Lynn to listen to this. I actually picked her out of all the people I've worked with to teach this class, and she's got this personality and she's got this intuitive capability, and I even quoted her, follow your dopamine.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I've actually used that exact
yeah,
phrase. Not the bad
yeah, follow
dopamine,
your
not the cheeseburger, not the video
yeah,
game. It's the dopamine, the good dopamine. Yeah.
the good dopamine, the one that is like when I think about being like talking to you, this I got dopamine, I mean, it's like I'm excited about it. I know that whenever any class that I have, if I'm feeling off in the beginning, as soon as I start getting into it, my whole energy shifts. And
Yeah.
because I love doing it so much, there's no situation where it doesn't kind of make me feel energized
Yeah.
on some level.
Yeah.
So that's what that dopamine, the
Yeah.
good dopamine.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And you love what you do. So, real quick as we wrap up, um, obviously it's a larger conversation. We talked about must-haves. I want to go back to that word. If somebody is listening and they're not completely happy with their career, again, maybe it's making adjustments within where they are now, or they just need to
Yeah.
make a complete 180. So,
Yeah.
can you just kind of bullet point some of the things for them to just start thinking about? I always want people to walk away from these podcasts with just something to
Yeah.
go and think about. So, what are some of those bullet points that people need to just start to think about, be aware of if they're in that situation where they know they need to make a change?
Number one, it's not you, it's the situation, it's the job. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing. You just don't have the clarity yet about what you need to do to make it really work for you. And that most people know kind of, even though it might have been blotted out by bad situations year after year and soul crushing kind of situations, that inside we are all capable of amazing things. And being able to quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
unlock what those are, that's going to shift everything. So that first bullet point is, it's not you, it's the job
Mm-hmm.
or the career or whatever, that the wrong one. Okay. A lot of times that gives a lot of people relief to know that, because if you, especially once people get into those PIP situations, oh God, I remember I worked with an engineer who was in one of those, and she could barely communicate
Mm-hmm.
in the class during
Yeah.
that process. It was really, really awful. So, the other thing is that it making shifts and really understanding who you are is uh not only build your confidence, but it's fun. It's fun to learn about yourself and go, that's who I am, and
Yeah.
to own it, and to really own it. That's a big one. That's something we work on a lot in the master class, is owning those red lines or those must-haves and who you are.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one for a lot of people to really get. But because you have that inner voice, we all have that thing that's like, the safekeeping self, as Bowles calls it, where you are hearing the voices of other people, or you're getting influenced, right, by
Yeah.
people on the outside telling you, "You're so good at this. Have you
Yeah.
tried that?
Yeah.
Have you? I know a
Yeah.
program that all you have to do is da 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 da." Ooh,
Yeah.
gives me the willies thinking about it. But that's what most
We all
people
have
are
that one
impacted by.
friend.
That but you're so good at you
Yeah.
would be so good
Mm.
if only you would. That is just so wrong. It's so wrong to be exposed to that when you're going through this process. So I always tell people, close yourself off from those outside influences while you're going through a process of uh, underlining or discovering who you are and what you need in your work,
Yeah.
what you need in your work life. Anything else? Let's see. This process is confidence building. I think I said that before, but I want to underscore it. That if That's one thing that when people are through with it, I see people transform. And I like to say it's me. No, it's not me. It's a process. The process is so freaking amazing.
Mm.
It really is, because it's not an assessment where you're asked questions that aren't even relevant half the time. And you're compared to other people who are answering those questions. You're not answering the question of who am I and what do I need with, especially with ADHD, and how does that answer reflect the way I think, the way my brain is wired, or any of that. So that's why I hate assessments. I really do. I
Yeah.
really do not like them.
Yeah.
So this is really a deeper dive. So if you got to be ready. And so I think the last bullet point would be ready.
Yeah.
Be ready to take the deep dive and change everything, change the trajectory and feel confident, feel better, get the good dopamine flowing. I guess, is that a good way to end? I don't
I
know.
think so. I think you sum that up perfectly. And of course, uh, get your book. Or if you
Oh,
need a
get my
deep
book.
and if you need a deeper dive, then
Yeah.
contact you directly. So the book's on Amazon. I'm sure there's
Oh,
a
can
link.
I say one other thing? If the
Of
book is on my
course.
website,
Yeah.
yeah, I almost prefer people to get it right from my website, to be honest,
Is that
which is,
shellmendelson.com?
it's actually career coaching with
Ah,
Shell.com.
all right. So
Career
don't worry about
coaching
my
with
mistake,
Shell.
people. We're going to have the link in the show notes, as us podcasters say.
I think shellmendelson.com. I have a lot of links it links to passion to career, but I always like to use career coaching with Shell because that's really what I do.
And that's the one that's going to
And
be in the link. So,
yeah, and
yeah.
then the course book, I can actually give you the link on my website to that goes right to my
Yeah,
author's
let's do
page.
that. Yeah. Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that. So if you don't want to click too much, we'll Shell's gonna make sure that we have those proper links in there. So if you just want to just get it over with. So
And you can get it on Amazon.
there
Yes.
you go. Cool. Yeah, if you're yeah. So cool. All right. Great conversation. I know you have put a lot of work into this book, so congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
very methodical, and I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people that listen to this. So we should have you back to tackle some subtopic of this conversation because it is a big topic. So
Big
yeah,
topic. Yeah.
yeah. So
Thank
cool.
you, David.
All right,
Yeah.
Shell. We'll see you soon. Thanks.